Hey everyone, I figured today would be a good day for doing a winter tour of the greenhouse. It's finally warming up after having some temperatures in the minus 13-ish degree area, and it's nice to finally be able to get out and enjoy the outdoors while it's warmed up a little bit. You can see the snow starting to melt off. We have a pretty foggy day just because the air temperature is so warm. So obviously with a day like today we have no solar charging with our batteries. And for parts of the winter, I do have to run our system off of an extension cord that we run down from the house. So let's go in and see what's going on inside. So the rocket mass heater has been doing really well this winter. I'm going through a lot of pellets though. And I'm currently designing a new heater that will burn off of wood for long periods of time. So you can look forward to that coming up at some point. I've been running it with a box fan every once in a while and opening up the front and the back and just blowing air across the barrel. And that's really just to heat the airspace, usually when I'm working in here, like today. I've been keeping the water temperature in the mid-50s. It gets really expensive to keep it much warmer than that in here. And the air temperature is usually in the 50s also. When the sun comes out and heats up the building, it can go up into the 70s without any issue. The koi and the goldfish are doing just fine in here with the water temperatures. They just sort of hang out for most of the winter. Don't consume a whole lot of food, so the system is running pretty light. And they are still quite curious and like to come up to the glass when they know I'm hanging out. So overall the system's looking pretty good even for being in January. Still a lot of green, a lot of things alive, a few things are dead, and we'll go over everything in here that I've been growing during the winter. First we'll view our strawberry towers that I just installed. They've been doing quite well, even for the strawberries being somewhat dormant. I've been keeping it warm enough in here where they actually woke up and started blossoming, so we're going to get some really early strawberries this year. In the center bed where the banana tree is to be, my lemon tree is coming along nicely. It's not doing a whole lot, but I'm hoping in the spring it will perk up and start sending out some more leaves. I also had planted a whole bunch of broccoli seedlings in here, and they're doing really well. The broccoli can definitely tolerate the colder temperatures. In the middle ring of media beds, I have all types of stuff in here. The nasturtiums are still doing great. They're still flowering a little bit, but mostly leaves coming in. Some of the herbs still do fine. They'll overwinter without any problems. Some thyme, rosemary. And I even have my tomato plants are still coming along. They're all over the place in here. A couple of them did die off. One thing that did die off in here was my eggplant. I need to pull this out. But eggplant just cannot handle the colder temperatures, along with my basil, which I don't even have in here anymore. That's all been pulled out. But of course, I have a few miscellaneous lettuce in here. They're doing great. Another nasturtium, which is growing all the way down to the floor. This one is just taking off and is also starting to flower again too. The Minzuna loves the cold temperature. This one is doing fantastic in here. I planted this one over the summer and it's just taking over everything. And along with the bok choy, I thought this was just going to be a summer crop. I did grow these over the summer, left a couple of them in here. You can see it's starting to flower. I may just let it go to seed and save the seeds for next year. But they are growing extremely well and can handle the colder temperatures. I used to have a zucchini and some carrots in this spot here. When I pulled it out, I decided to plant some more broccoli. Of course, my old reliable pineapple plant, it's still sending out leaves very slowly. It's a slow grower, but I'm hoping someday I'll actually get a pineapple out of it. Almost not worth the space that it takes up, but I'd like to see a pineapple. Still have tons of strawberry plants in here. These were left over from last year. I had just let them start propagating on their own, and they've sort of taken over the beds. And in the spring, I'm going to thin all these out, give a whole bunch away to people, and free up the space for other crops. I still have some tomatoes coming along. There's a few red ones here. It's just very slow for the tomatoes without enough light during the winter, but they do seem to be going well. The plants are still flowering, and I pick a tomato about a couple times a week if I'm lucky. And in my last bed here in the center is the oregano plant. Still doing great. We just keep hacking away at it over the summer. It slows down over the winter, but it does really well. And the sage plant, it looks pretty pathetic now, but it will really rebound again in the spring. And we just keep taking clippings off of this. You can see here, here's a stem, and just take leaves off of it. And these are original to the greenhouse when we first planted it. So you can see here there's a really heavy stalk. It's almost like a bush now for the sage, so it's pretty impressive. Same thing with the parsley. We just keep taking snips off of that when we want it, take a whole bunch of it off. But this parsley plant is doing very well in here, has no problem in the cold weather. And a few scallions or some type of an onion thing in here. Sorely die off, but they keep coming back every year. I did have this tomato plant. It died off. I got to pull this out. I'm not sure what happened to it, but it happens. And I have a few rogue beet plants that have been coming in. They do quite well in the system too. So in our outer ring of beds here, I have some more lettuce. There's a couple of cabbage growing in the background here, and our peppers have just about had enough. They just don't really like the cold weather. And you can see there's some damage on the leaves. These are from slugs. They just come in during the night up through the gravel and eat their way through it. But you can see I have a whole bunch of peppers. They're basically ready to pick, so I think I'm going to take them all out today and bring them in, and we can roast them up at the house. But we have quite a few in here. So even with the colder water temperatures, the red wiggler worms have no problem surviving in it. And they do a great job breaking down all the organics. So this media bed drains into a raft bed, and my first raft here has some bok choy in it. It grows about the same in the media beds, so I guess it doesn't really matter which way I grow it. I did find that the media bed ones grew a little bit quicker at first, and I think partly because they just get a little more oxygen around their roots and sitting in the water. I don't run any bubblers in my raft beds because the oxygen levels seem to be high enough just by getting air in from the media beds and the aeration through the fish tank. And of course, a bunch of lettuce here. It takes a long time for lettuce to grow out in the winter. We just don't get enough sunlight to keep things going. And everything stays fairly wet in here over the winter. Just water condensates on anything that's a cold surface. It drips off the ceiling right onto the floor here, so you're walking around and you usually get dripped on many times. Even all the wood in the structure, it just stays damp. So I'm very glad that the dome structure is built with a western red cedar because it's rot resistant, and then these lower panels are all treated lumber. So hopefully it lasts a long time. The next bed has all types of different lettuce varieties in here. Again, some more Minzuna. This was planted over the summer and I just let it keep growing. It's doing great. A bunch more lettuce. Again, more Minzuna. I really should pull it out. I have way too much of it. And this bed has some more mature lettuce in it. The temperature does stunt the lettuce growth a little bit. You can see here that the roots do start turning brown, and that's not from any buildup or anything on it. It's just strictly from the temperature. Usually around 58 degrees or so, the roots just start looking like this, and if I warm up the water, they'll start growing out some nice new clean ones again. But basically, that's why the lettuce doesn't grow a whole lot over the winter time. And this last media bed, more strawberries. I got some kale growing here in the background, but It's not growing extremely fast, mainly because it's against this north wall and it's somewhat shaded back there, but it's growing. It seems to be happy, and hopefully in the spring we can harvest some of that. So this year I did decide to let some of the snow pile up along the side of the dome just to help insulate the base a little bit better. It's hard to see it there. But I did run into one problem with this vent. One day it got warm out and there's still some snow piled up against it, and there's no more vent actuator on here because it stripped all the gears in it. So I got to go drop another $100 on a new actuator. And that was my bad for not turning off the venting system. So that's about it of the tour. Things are still alive and well here in Connecticut in the dead of winter. It is costing a small fortune to keep everything heated here, but it's nice to come down here on a nice warm day and feel like you're in Florida or something. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. So let's go on inside and see what we have going on. And the door is locked.